Hello. Right, so my name is Andy Scott. So I'm joined today by my colleagues Konstantinos, Rohit, and David, and I've got Jason with me in the room. So this is your monthly NetScaler Connect session. So what have we got for you today? So we've got Konstantinos talking about Terraform, infrastructure automation, a subject close to all our hearts because we want to be able to do more with less. So that whole automation thing, I think, is key. And then to follow that up, we've got David from Escalation Support talking about nFactor authentication. So another great topic because you need really strong authentication. So I think what I'll do is I'll hand over to Konstantinos and Rohit to cover off that first section.
Thanks, Andrew. So first of all, let me introduce myself. My name is Konstantinos Kaltsas. I'm lead product manager for NetScaler. And along with me, I have also Rohit from the automation toolkit team that is working with Terraform, Ansible, and all good stuff that we are going to cover also today. So what we are going to talk about today, we are going to talk about our new Terraform provider for SDX and the new enhancements that come with the latest release. So, but before that, let me give a heads up to those that are attending for the first time one of our webinars and are hearing for the first time the term of the NetScaler automation toolkit and in general what we can do with automation. So what is the NetScaler automation toolkit? We are talking about a suite of different integrations and also APIs with an ultimate goal to be able to follow DevOps practices for network infrastructure. So whenever you hear the terms of automation and configuration, continued configuration, infrastructure as code, these type of things, please feel free to reach out to us to help you with the tools that are there so that you can also make NetScaler part of your automation pipelines. On the top right of the screen, you can see a QR code. Please feel free to scan this with your phone and you will be redirected to our GitHub repository for our automation toolkit. There you will find more details about the different integrations that we are offering. Along with this, you will find also more resources, several blogs, several labs, several examples, along with the code that our engineering team is writing, because at the end of the day, all of the things that you can see for automation are open sourced and are available on our GitHub repositories. So having said that, as mentioned previously, we are going to cover today the new features that are available with the latest version of the Terraform provider for SDX. You will see that the new version is the 0.3. So we haven't yet released the version 1 release because there are still some, let's say, some features that are pending in our provider, and in addition to that, because the provider is not yet available on the Terraform registry, we are going to release the version 1 as soon as it is available also on the HashiCorp registry site. So let me start with the things that we have released with the latest version. So with the 0.3 release, we have also migrated to the latest Terraform SDK. So we have migrated from the SDK version 2 to the latest Terraform plugin framework. Why this is important for you? So basically that means that the latest provider will have more capabilities and more optimizations that are coming with the latest Terraform SDK. In addition to that, several of you have also reported during the last couple of months a couple of vulnerabilities that have been identified on the provider. So several of these vulnerabilities were coming from the version 2 SDK. So moving forward, you will see that these vulnerabilities will not be there anymore. One additional important update has to do with the fact that we have changed also the namespace and also the provider name. So in the past, our provider was available under Citrix, and the provider name was Citrix SDX. Moving forward, you will see that the provider name is being changed to NetScaler SDX. Not much will change from your side, so whatever implementation is there will not break. If you want, let's say, to move to the latest version, it will be just a simple change to just change the name of the provider that you are going to use. Additionally, we are going to cover a number of new features that are now supported. And there are also some documentation updates that we have done. And during the demo session, Rohit is going also to share with us our GitHub repositories and where you can find also these changes. Now, some links that can come handy for you. And again, during the demo, we're going to cover also most of these things. So the first link is the link of our GitHub repository where our provider is available. If you click this link, you will be redirected in the repository that you can see also here. This is where our source code is available. So you can see the source code, you can open, let's say, tickets for enhancement, or if you find any bug, you can also open a ticket there. We are really happy to get your feedback on this and provide any new update to you. In addition to that, you will see that we have also listed all the supported modules in this repository, and also we have added documentation and example pages also there. Moving forward, when the provider will be available in the registry, you will see that all of these will also be available in the registry itself. Finally, we have also released a recording on YouTube where you can also see how you can leverage the new provider. And specifically, the recording is focusing on how you can use the new provider to manage the life cycle of an ADC, of a NetScaler deployed on an SDX appliance. So you will find out how you can provision a VPX, how you can, let's say, shut down the VPX and all of these things by using Terraform and creating templates. Having said that, as I mentioned previously, I want you just to see what is the simple change that I mentioned previously when talking about changing the provider name. So when declaring what is the provider that is going to be used, the only thing that you need to change is change the source from Citrix SDX to NetScaler SDX. Again, if you are already using the Citrix SDX provider, it will continue working, nothing is going to change for you. But if you would like to use the new features, you will just need to change the name here. Now, when it comes to the additional features that are being supported, so if you are already using the previous version of the provider, you would already know that all of these functionalities related to provisioning and managing VPX are already there. We have done some additional work so that you can see better optimizations there. So anything related to deploying, starting, stopping, rebooting, and all of the other operations is there, and you can achieve everything through Terraform via Terraform and your SDX appliance. In addition to that, we have also introduced the support for admin profile. And when it comes to, let's say, ADCs, when it comes to ADC management. But in this release, we focused also on providing support also for system configuration, for platform configuration, meaning SDX settings and SDX configuration. So we focused on providing support for managing authentication servers. So you will see that TACAX and LDAP and Radius servers are also supported moving forward. But we all know that you would definitely need to create also some system users, some system groups. This is also supported now through Terraform. Additionally, because we got this request from multiple customers during the last couple of months, we focused also on providing support for syslog service management, server management, also managing NTP servers and managing SNMP, traps and alarms. So during the demo, we are going to go through how you can also create user and groups, how you can also manage SNMP traps, and Rohit is going to give us a demo on how you can achieve all of these. Additionally, we are going to also demonstrate how you can also create admin profiles using Terraform. One last thing, what you should expect and what it is in our roadmap. So the support for SDX is one of our core initiatives right now. So our target goal is to reach 100% of coverage. There are several things that have already started and we have already prioritized additional features. But the things that you can see here are the things that are not supported today. And we would also like your feedback on what is important for you so that we can also start prioritizing accordingly. So I'm going to share also a link in the chat. Please use this link. It is a Google form. Please share your feedback on what is important for you so that we can know how to prioritize accordingly. So having said that, I would like to invite Rohit to share his screen and start presenting the demo that we have prepared for you today.
Thanks, Konstantinos. Hey guys, welcome to this webinar. I'm very happy to share things with you. In this demo, we are specifically concentrating on certain features of SDX that is under system. So these are SDX box that we have, and so what you can expect from this demo. So in this demo, I'm going to demonstrate user administration, how to create a group using Terraform, and how to add user to the group. And the second thing is how to configure SNMP alarms. So we have existing SNMP alarms, but if you want to change or modify values of certain alarms, you can change that using Terraform. Also, the last thing is trap destination. So here we are going to add trap destination, and using TCP dump, we'll make sure whether the alarm message is reaching the target SNMP destination server or not. And the other last thing is we are going to create admin profiles. So basically admin profile or device profile, we are going to create a device profile using our Terraform scripts. So these are the features that I'll be demoing now. And all the features will be configured via Terraform. We'll not use GUI to configure those. Coming on to our GitHub repo, as Constantinos mentioned in our previous slides, this is a GitHub repo that he was referring. So it is Terraform Provider NetScaler SDX. So under this, you have something called examples. So here you can see what are the features that we support as of now. You can see provisioning VPX, and here we have a link to example files, documentation, and demo video. So here, this is an updated list. We'll be updating as soon as we push to the GitHub. So whatever resource you need, you can just check over here and configure your SDX using Terraform. And under example, we have something called resource, which contain example for every individual resource. So example, MPS user is nothing but administrative user. So if you want to configure this, you just have to view the resource file and just copy the same and change the values accordingly. So in this demo, what I did is I have cloned this repo in my local machine. So I've cloned this repo and then made changes, made small changes according to the demo, and then I'll be executing the same. So here is a cloned part of the same repo that I've shown. So I'll first show how can we configure MPS groups. So as Constantino said, under MPX group, we have two files, that is resource provider.tf and resource.tf. So these are the Terraform configuration files basically. And in the provider.tf, what we have is we have a Terraform block. So here we are telling Terraform that what are the provider that should be used for this resource. Basically, we are telling Terraform to install NetScaler SDX as a provider. And the second block is a provider block. So here, basically, this contains the SDX information. Basically, the host that we want to connect and the username and password. So as of now, I'm commenting this because I'm using the environmental variables for this demo. So you can do the same. You can just pass the values to these environmental variables, and you can use the same. And the second file is resource.tf. So this is the actual resource that Terraform scans. So we are telling Terraform that, so please create a MPX group or administrative group with these values. So basically we are giving the values here, name, permission. So I'm creating this group with the admin permissions and role as admin as well. So let's configure this using Terraform. So this is the first resource that we are going to configure. So let's go to the directory that these files are present. We'll go to example and then resource, and under resource we have NetScaler SDX underscore MPX group. So under that we have two files as we saw. So the first command is Terraform init. So whenever you are starting to do changes or want to apply configuration to the target machine, the first command is Terraform init. So what it does is it will initialize the backend. So it first scans all the Terraform files present in the local directory, and it reads all the values and it downloads the plugin in the local directory, and it will use those plugins in the further steps. So basically we have initialized the backend, and now we are going to apply. So before applying, I'll show you what are the groups present in this SDX box. So under administrator, we have groups, and currently you can see there are two groups, read only and owner. Now I'm going to create a new group with these name, that is TF underscore MPX group. So after initializing, you have to apply the configuration. So the command is Terraform apply. So Terraform apply, what it does is it will create a plan. So basically, it says MPX group is going to be created with these values. So here it is asking for a prompt. So if you are okay with this plan, then you can just give it as S, and as soon as you give it as S, it will start processing. Basically, it will start applying the configuration to the target SDX box that we have. So let's verify the same in the GUI. Okay, I'll refresh this groups, and yeah, there you see here there is a third entity that is appeared with the name that we have given in the Terraform, and this is how we create a group. So the next thing that we are going to discuss is MPS user, that is administrative user. So currently we have a single user, this that is NS root, but we are going to create a new user, and that user will assign it to the group that we have created right now. So let's go to MPS user directory. Here also the file structure is same. We have provider block, we have Terraform block, and the other thing is we have resource block. Here, the resource previously was MPX group, but here we have MPS user. So here we tell Terraform to create a MPX user with these attributes. So basically the name is nothing but the username as pf underscore MPS user, and the password is password given as this, and it asks for group. So in what group do you want this user to belong? So basically we are assigning the previous group name, and we'll assign the user to the previous group name. So basically, we'll apply this configuration to the SDX. So let's go to the previous directory, and under that NetScaler SDX and MPS user. So currently we have two files as discussed. So as this is a different directory that we are dealing with, so here we have to initialize Terraform as well, because Terraform is basically a directory specific. So once you type Terraform in a particular directory, it will scan all the Terraform files that are present in that directory, and it will initialize only that directory, not the other directories. So basically, once a Terraform init is necessary for every directory that you are dealing with, and the second command is Terraform apply. So here it's the same case. It shows us a plan, and it says one to add, a zero to change, and zero to destroy. Basically, we are adding one resource, and we are not destroying or changing any of the resources. So if we type it as S, then it accepts the configuration, and it tries to create a new one. and we'll wait for this to get created. Yeah, as you see, the apply has been completed. The results are one is added and nothing is changed and nothing is expired. So let's just verify the same in the GUI. So under users, I'm going to refresh this page. As you can see, the new user has been created. But let's just verify the same by logging out NS root and logging in the new user. So I'm signing out the NS user and I'll be signing in with the new user that we have created. So this is just for confirmation that we have. Okay, let's wait. And the password is this. So let's just log in. And yeah, you can see the user has been configured and the value that it takes is all written in the Terraform. So these are the values that it has accepted, and these are the values that are pushed to the SDX using Terraform. So basically, you can see we have logged in with a new username. This is it. So this is it about MPS user and MPX group. And the third thing that we are going to look at now is how to create a device profile or admin profile under Citrix ADC. So currently in the admin profile, we have two profiles, that is Dynasty and NSNS root profile. But we are going to create a new profile and verify the same in the GUI. So for the same, as we saw MPS user, MPS group, for the same we have NS device profile as well, and which also contains two files, that is provider as well as a resource. So in the resource file, here we are telling Terraform to create NS device profile as a resource. So let's just go to the NetScaler NS device profile registry, so directory. And as usual, it contains two files, provider.tf and resource. So let's just initialize the backend. And then after initializing, we'll apply the configuration. So just give it as S. So let's just wait for the configuration to be pushed to the SDX. And yeah, as you can see, the command output, it has been applied. Let's just verify the same using GUI. So I'll refresh this page. So yeah, here you can see the third entry has been added. That is TF underscore NS device profile with the values that we have given in our Terraform configurations. So security name, you can verify it as device profile, same, and no preview, the same for the board. And also the other thing I want you guys to tell is, so using Terraform, you can manage entire life cycle of a resource. So basically, entire life cycle is meaning you can create a resource, you can update attributes, or you can delete the resource as well. So here I've created a resource and with these values of admin profile. But what if I want to delete? So there is a simple command called Terraform destroy. So Terraform destroy, what it does is it will manage a state file in the local repository, and it will read the state file and the configuration. So it will check which resource to delete. So there is a entry of NS device profile in the state file. So it tries to delete the NS device profile. So here you can see the plan. The plan is nothing to add, but nothing to change. But we have one resource to delete, and this is a resource that it wants to delete. So if it is okay for us, then we can give it as S to accept to confirm the things. So here you can see the destroy has been completed. Let's just verify the same in the GUI. I'll refresh this admin profile. Yeah, here you can see the admin profile that we have created previously using Terraform is now destroyed. So yeah, this is how you can maintain the life cycle of a resource using Terraform. And finally, what we are going to do is we will configure SNMP trap. We'll configure SNMP trap destination, and we'll configure alarm. We'll change the alarm SNMP alarm as well, and we'll check the same using our TCP dump. So we'll go to SNMP trap. Under SNMP trap, as usual, we have two files, provider and resource file. And under resource file, we are telling Terraform to apply to work on this resource, that is SNMP trap. And the server that we are adding is this is a server IP that we are adding, and with the destination port as 162. So let's add this SNMP trap to our target net SDX. So we are going to directory NetScaler SDX SNMP trap. So as usual, this contains two files. We'll first initialize the backend, and then we'll apply the configuration. Yeah. So here it says, here Terraform says, here I'm going to create a destination server with this IP as well as a destination port. I mean, with the trap with the given port. So I'll apply the configuration. Wait for the configuration to get pushed to the SDX.
Meanwhile, as we are waiting for the execution to finalize, what I would like to say is that during the presentation, Rohit did the same steps for each one of these resources. So he did the init apply for each one of these resources. But in a real case scenario, you would simply it would be perfectly fine for you to create a single template, add all of this configuration in a single template, and do a single execution. So you wouldn't really have to apply each one of the different resources separately, because this means that you're going to maintain different state files. But for our demo today, to keep it simple, we decided to show you how you can do these simple configurations independently.
Yeah. As you mentioned, we can apply, we can have n number of resources under the same file. So we can apply all the resource at once. We can push every configuration at once. But for the simplicity, just for you guys to understand, I'm taking a different directory to apply the resource. So as you mentioned, it's totally fine. Terraform executes everything parallelly. So it tries to create every resource parallelly. So you can apply you can create a n number of resources in the same Terraform file and push all the configuration at once. So it's possible using Terraform.
Correct, Andrew. So basically, the power of Terraform is that you can basically create a base template, a standard for the whole organization, and based on that, you can reuse this every time that you're going to introduce a new SDX appliance or new VPXs. So that means that you can go through a process of reviewing this template that is going to follow the best practices from a security point of view, for a networking point of view. And after that, you will just need to change some variables based on your environment, to change, let's say, some IPs, to change some firewall rules, these type of things, depending on your environment.
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
I think the other thing is that consistency. So if Rohit's on holiday and Jason comes in and installs a new machine, you can then do a check. Rohit can come back from holiday and run a check to see if Jason's got the config right, and it will just correct what needs to be corrected.
Yes, exactly. It will check for the configuration drift, and if you want to apply the old config as well, you can just apply, and then those values will be overwritten. Yeah, exactly.
Also, Andrew, one additional topic is that in case that you would like to fully let's say follow DevOps practices, then you can introduce also security into the picture, automation testing, quality testing, all of these things. So basically, you can introduce also the automation security testing as part of this pipeline. So whenever something is wrong, you will identify this early on the SDLC. So that means that you will identify anything in the development phase rather than going in production and identifying that something is wrong there, a misconfiguration, or a port that should never have been opened and things like that. You will know this before going in production.
Continuing to the demo. So here you can see the SNMP trap with this IP has been applied to our SDX. So let's verify the same in the GUI. So under SNMP, we have trap, and here you can see the trap destination server has been updated. And the other thing that I want to show is I'll log out from this user and I'll check for the TCP dump. So TCP dump. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to capture the packets and I'll make a false login. I'll make a login using different credentials and let's verify if the alarms are SNMP alarms are going to the server that we have mentioned. So the packets are UDP in the port 162 and we'll include the flag in. Okay, please log in. Okay, I'll log in again. So yeah, let's go to shell and let's capture the packets. TCP dump with the interface 0/1. We are capturing UDP packets and with the port 162 and we are including the flag end. So yeah, here it's listening to interface 0/1. And if I just make a false login, so consider NS root and password, I'm just giving some dummy password and it says invalid username or password. And what we are expecting is we are expecting SDX to send the SNMP alarms to the server, trapped server that we have mentioned. So here you can see the output of TCP dump. Here it says the packets has been transferring from our SDX box to the IP to the trap SNMP trap server that we have provided onto the port 162, and the message is invalid GUI login for user NS root with a client IP. So the severity here is critical, and let's just modify the SNMP alarm and then we'll look for other severity. I'll quickly go to SNMP alarm config and under resource file we have login failure and severities was critical before, but I'll make it to major. I'll change the value to major and I'll try to apply this. NetScaler SDX SNMP alarm config. So here, as usual, we have two files. We are initializing the backend and we are applying the configuration. So I applied the configuration. So basically, the severity here will be major because previously it was critical. Now I've updated to major. So let's wait for another TCMP dump. So NS root and password, I'll give some dummy password. And you'll see the same message invalid username or password. And here you can see the packets are moving to the SNMP trap server that we have mentioned. And now the severity is major. So this is how you can end-to-end configure your SDX box using our Terraform provider. So hope you guys got more info on how can you use our Terraform SDX provider, and thanks for attending. Yeah, thanks, Constantinos. I'll hand over it to you.
Okay.
Thanks, Rohit. So, Andrew, we are good from our side. I think we covered all things related to automation. The only thing that I would request is for our attendees to spend some time and share their feedback on the link that I have shared.
Okay. Thanks, Konstantinos. Thanks, Rohit. Thanks very much. And if you could switch over to David. And David, you're talking about nFactor, I believe.
Yeah, so hi everyone. My name is David Egan. I'm a principal escalation engineer with the NetScaler Advanced Support team. I'm going to take you through a bit of a talk around nFactor and the idea of customers where sometimes they resist the change to nFactor because of maybe legacy setups with customizations. If moving to nFactor, it also means moving to new portal teams, new ways of doing endpoint analysis scans. Maybe you're using end user license agreements. So we'll touch on all this in the coming discussion. So first, why nFactor? It's secure by design. It has more available authentication actions that you can configure. So for that reason alone, it's better. It's got extra flexibility built in. It can handle much more complex use case scenarios, even though the individual configuration elements are nice and simple. It can really cover some very complex use cases. More than just authenticating of users, we can do things like assign variables to users as they're coming through the authentication flow. Using nFactor also allows native one-time PIN support from NetScaler. Arguably that could replace a paid-for radius server. So that's nice to see it included. And self-service password reset is there also. nFactor, thankfully, is nice and simple to set up. It can be just as easy as basic authentication on a gateway if you've used that before. And even with a standard license on a gateway, we can make use of a non-addressable AAA server for nFactor. So some good reasons why to use nFactor. But when it comes to actually configure it, or if you need to migrate away from a legacy setup, maybe you're an administrator who has inherited an old deployment set up from some time ago with legacy configuration settings. So some of the new ways of doing things can look a bit different. And this will just be a good introduction and familiarization with how to get certain things done, like modernizing a customized portal, making changes to end user license agreements if they're needed, endpoint analysis scans getting moved. We'll touch on a few things, common things that we see in support. So yeah, the first part of this demonstration is really going to be around those conversions and changes. We'll talk a bit about portal team changes, EOLA changes, but also custom labels. Because when using nFactor, depending on what you do with it, what custom changes you make, you might see different results from what you might have first anticipate. So we'll touch on those a little bit. And then a little later, the second half, we'll have a look at an actual nFactor visualizer flow where we can cater for different user populations in different ways. So yeah, how to modernize or migrate a legacy portal team with nFactor. The legacy portal teams, Green Bubble, RF Web UI, and so on. They result in a portal team that looks something similar to this. You can tell a legacy portal team by the URL at the top. It'll always have that VPN/index page. The legacy EOLA is accessed through the terms and conditions link. So that's nice and easy to open up, and users get to see it. It's one EULA for everybody. When we come to make a new portal team, it's not instantly very clear where to do things like EPA or EULA and so on. But one thing we can see is where to set custom labels on the portal team. No changes here. It's done just like before. I draw attention to those custom labels at the bottom of the screen for like user ID, user password. Later on, I'll talk about these again because we'll make some changes and we'll see these customized settings being lost. I'll show you one way we can employ a method to get them back. So how about the EULA changes with nFactor? The old way of doing an EULA or end user license agreement was simply to create one and bind it directly to gateway. There is an equally simple method available in nFactor. You can use a login schema. There's a default EULA login schema in the box. But I'll show you a different way just for the insight it gives you into working with the new RF Web UI portal team. RF Web UI, unlike other portal teams, the home for RF Web UI is actually in the var folder. You can see it in the top left there, the folder path is called out. And the beauty of the var folder is changes made to that content will persist between restarts. So old nag points potentially of having to do custom changes to RC NetScaler scripts, they're gone. And with custom portal teams, you can make just direct edits to the files if you like, and this will embed the changes directly into the portal itself. So the outcome of doing changes such as this, it might result in text like you see at the bottom of the screen. This could be considered something like a global EULA, or it could be any text-based change that you want. It's not configured through the portal team GUI, but you're free to make your own custom changes to your custom themes as well. Let's move on a little bit and talk a bit more about those custom labels. You might want to, for example, add some assistive text into the form fields for the login prompt. So the portal team is going to control all of the background images, the colors, any of the labels beside form fields, but not what appears in form fields themselves. To make changes to the form fields, we can just open the login schema where the portal team defines what the background and images will look like. The login schema will define what form fields appear to collect requirements from users, username, password, and so on. So we can add some helper text in there if we want. But do note that the custom labels that were set previously through the GUI, they've now been lost thanks to the customized login schema that's being used. So quite easily, we can make some more changes to the login schema and we can get custom labels back this way as well. So I guess the point is not everything you see on what looks like the portal team is from the portal team. You can control some of the elements from the login schemas also. And we'll talk more about login schemas later on. So the end result of this with the new URL at the top, we can see the new logon point URL. This is the RF Web UI team. It's got our custom image, our custom EULA text, and our user ID label is there. All the good stuff to salvage the kind of legacy style settings, but still brought forward with the nFactor method of configuring. Let's take a bit of a deeper look into how to configure more complex deployments with nFactor. nFactor brings to the table some additional authentication actions which you can configure. Things like OAuth, using email for authentication, captcha codes are there also. The endpoint analysis scan, very popular for gateway users. The legacy way of doing EPA would be do pre-authentication or post-authentication scans and put that EPA configuration directly on gateway. But now with nFactor, EPA is just another authentication action that you can configure. We also have non-authenticating actions. We have an assignment action, for example, designed to assign a variable. And even the venerable no authentication action down the end there. You could use an end user license agreement as a login schema and use the no authentication action alongside of it as a decision block. And that will serve an EULA to workspace app users, for example, or non-web browser users. So how exactly do we do EPA and EULA with nFactor? And how does nFactor make it more easy to do complex deployments? And we'll wrap up with just an acknowledgement that if it's a simple deployment that's needed, nFactor does simple as well, of course. This is the current nFactor visualizer view. It is being changed, just to call it out. This, in an upcoming firmware build, will be even slicker. But even as it is, it's nice and easy to interpretate and follow along. If we start at the block on the left, the idea here is the top line, the green line, that's one flow to be followed, where, let's say, internal users who can be found on an internal domain, let's say they follow that top line. They have an easy experience to log in. But for our environment, maybe we have some external users from external domains coming in as well. And they're going to follow along that bottom red line where we show them some custom EULA text, maybe region-specific text, and then onto a different authentication block on the domain dropdown, and then finally wrap up with an assignment of a variable, just to show that we can do more than just authentication actions with nFactor. So that first decision block is all about figuring out who this user is. We're going to need to collect their username, their identity, so that we can figure out, are these guys coming in on premises or are they going to be authenticated from an external domain? So the way you could achieve this kind of an outcome is some changes to the login schema files. The original file is at the top. In yellow, I've removed the password line. So we don't need the password anymore. And in green, I've changed the label for the logon button. It says verify domain membership instead. We're only collecting a username here for the authentication action. We don't actually want to authenticate. So I've turned off authentication for the LDAP action. This becomes an easy way to collect the username from the user, realize that they should be following that top path through the nFactor visualizer flow. So now when our demo user announces who they are, we can figure out, yeah, these guys, they're on premises. We can find them on the on-premises domain controller. Let's just get them to log in with their SAM account name. And they have a nice, easy experience to get into the backend resources and they're logged on and all as well. But we want to handle these external users in a different way. We want for maybe a custom EULA to be shown to certain users. So I showed you one way earlier how the EULA can be customized by embedding it into the portal team. really, most often on nFactor, customers will be choosing the EULA XML file. This is a login schema file, and it's not an authentication action so much. Typically, you'd bind it to the no authentication action, but you can make a copy of the EULA file, re-upload your edited XML file with custom text, and then when an external user is logging in, they're going to get to see this kind of a message. Because it's a login schema file, this will be served even to non-web browser connections. So the Workspace app supports WebView, for example. It's going to display this message inside of a WebView, along with any other login prompts that the user is going to see. We've changed the login prompt for these external users because, well, we need to know what domain on the external side of things they're logging in via. So for those users, we'll give them a domain drop-down list. This is just another login schema file that's provided right out of the box. And it's fully flexible. You can design your own login schema files. You can take copies of what's provided and edit them to suit your needs. The portal team as well, just to call back to that, also very extensible. The new RF WebUI portal team supports JavaScript extensions of your own design. So really, nFactor becomes very powerful, not only for those authenticating factors. We saw that we ended with the domain drop-down list there a few moments ago, but we can also end up with an assignment of a variable. This is just a simple proof of concept where there's a counter to increment anytime we hit that assignment of a variable. So, the concept here is we're tracking how many external users have come in. We're not really monitoring the internal users so much. So that takes care of kind of viewing what a more complex use of nFactor might be like. And really the complexity that's afforded by nFactor is it's just built on simple decision blocks. Each individual block is its own simple entity, and you layer them on top, you sequence them in the order that you want, and that helps you to reach any kind of outcome that you have in mind. For more simple use cases, if, for example, all you have is gateway and you're just using basic authentication, well, yeah, nFactor does simple too. If you're doing basic authentication, you'll have chosen an authentication action, maybe LDAP, maybe LDAP plus radius. You'll have your policy expression to trigger that action, maybe NS true on the old way of doing it. That's just true on the new way with nFactor. So the policy expressions are new syntax, but the authenticating actions like LDAP and radius, there's more options, but they're still the same actions. So really, it's a very flexible and extensible setup. It's got support for gateway with advanced authentication, even if you're on a standard license. The thing with a standard license is it must be a non-addressable AAA server, and it's only for use by gateway. You can't do custom settings with the login schemas on a standard license, but you can go up to 2 factors, which is just fine. And then finally, just to wrap up, we talked about how nFactor is secure by its very nature. It's very flexible. You choose your design in your mind, and you'll find it's very intuitive to go through as you try to lay out these decision blocks. And you're hooking with the green lines to say, yeah, they've passed that factor, go to the next one. Or maybe they've hit the red factor, the red line, because they failed. That doesn't mean they failed authentication per se. Maybe they have an EPA scan failure and the red line carries them to a remediation part of the network. So, they can get patched up and they can go back to the start of nFactor and come in and self-serve. Design goals are met with nFactor for this reason. It gives really clear visual feedback on what the authentication flow is going to result in. It's a real convenience of configuration as well. As you saw in the GUI tool, improvements are underway with that. As slick as it is right now, even better things are coming. And the beauty of it, I think, is if you are one of the administrators who inherits somebody else's legacy configuration, with nFactor Visualizer, it's very self-evident what the flow is intended to do. So it's very understandable even for somebody who might inherit that configuration. It supports modern authentication requirements like OAuth. That suits different security postures, and it feeds into the idea of defense in depth techniques for your whole network. It has great client compatibility. Obviously, all our Citrix apps know what nFactor is. And there's enhanced features available there too, like native one-time PIN support and self-service password reset. So yeah, with that, that's the end of my slides. I'll give it back to Andrew.
So thank you all very much for joining today. I think we're at time, and we will see you all next month. Okay, thanks everyone. Bye.